Hey guys, Bryant from Mythstorie here. Check out the BG South Gaming podcast. Here's a little word from the host. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Matt and I am the host of the BG South Gaming podcast. I invite you to join me as I rant, rave, discuss, and offer my opinions on all the latest and greatest news and topics surrounding the video game world. My podcast can be found on most major streaming services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you're looking for a fresh opinion on the video game news that interests you, then tune in to the BG South Gaming Podcast.
Welcome everyone to Mythstorie, a podcast about myths and history. I am one of your hosts, Bryant. Joining me as always is Cammie. Hello, Cammie.
Hello, Bryant.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am also pretty good. Trucking along here on Mythstorie, where every week we grab a myth, try and give you a little story and the history behind it. Today we're going to Cryptid Town. I think this is probably one of the ones that we mentioned, like when we were brainstorming the show in general, like last summer. We were like, "Oh yeah, we could do an episode on Mothman." But then we every week we kept banking it because it's like, oh, it's Mothman. Like he's not going anywhere. He's reliable.
Right.
Good old Mothman. Well, Mothman, we now must call upon you to help us out because we needed a topic for this week, and you're here to grace everyone. But it's a fun story. And
yeah, it's fun and it's a little creepy too.
Yeah, and I'm glad I other than just the name Mothman, I knew pretty much
It's
nothing
so
about it.
Ridiculous.
Right. I knew almost nothing about it, and so the history and stuff behind it there's not a lot there. This isn't going to be a crazy literary analysis of the Gorgon head in culture like last week's episode, but there's some cool things here, and the evolution of how the Mothman got associated with things that are dreary is kind of cool too. There's a cultural shift.
Oh wow,
there to
I
it.
wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's kind of minor. I guess I wouldn't say shift necessarily, but an evolution that's there that the myth kind of took on. So it's pretty cool.
My
Well-
first encounter with anything Mothman was
Yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries back in like
Of course,
the late 80s or early 90s. They did an episode on it. And
that's cool.
yeah, it was pretty creepy. You know, they'd always do like a murder and then they'd do like some kind of scary thing like cryptid or ghost or something like that. And I remember the Mothman episode. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, Cammie, how about you give us that little story? Regale
Sure.
us.
there's a place north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the thick forest engulfs the man-made concrete structures and flooded underground tunnel system created during World War II. It's an old munitions site, abandoned save the rumors of a creature who haunts it to this day. The sightings of this creature began in the 1960s and only became more bizarre as time passed. In 1966, in the cold of November, two couples were driving through the old TNT site on their way to wherever two couples would be going at midnight in the snow-covered woods. When they neared an abandoned power plant, one of the women, Linda, from HR, saw a pair of eyes glowing red in the distance. She screamed, and the chase was on. The other passengers and driver noticed the creature in this moment. It spread its massive wings and carried its 7-foot body into the air and propelled itself towards the car. Roger, the driver, who was not from HR, sped down the desolate highway. He looked down at one point and realized he was going over 100 miles per hour. Those were 1960s miles per hour. I honestly, Bryant, I don't know how a car in the 1960s could go 100 miles per hour. Do you think that's possible?
That's really interesting. Yeah.
They
It's
said
possible.
it was a Bel Air.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. So
It'd probably
anyway,
like overheat in a minute, but yeah.
right in the snow, like it just seems,
Oh.
it seems really wacky. I don't know.
That's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how much of that I believe, or
Maybe
well, any of it, but
kilometers per hour, maybe.
maybe, yeah. When they made it safely back to town, everyone high on adrenaline decided to find the winged creature, which they were now sure was just a bird. They traveled only a little way down the highway before they found the creature waiting for them. It was absolutely not a bird. When the headlights hit it, it flew directly into the sky and out of sight. They went to the sheriff's office, but the patrols they sent out found nothing. So that's kind of the 1966 story. And the first story, I believe, of the Mothman. And I used the Point Pleasant Register and Cryptid Wiki's entry on Mothman, which is cryptids.fandom.com. So those are my sources as well.
Nice. Yeah, so the history is pretty straightforward, and it's cool. I'm going to link it in the show, but there's the Williamson Daily News, November 18th, 1966, is on Google News, which basically like is scanned, old newspapers, and it has all the information that I'm talking about here that was also like used as the sources for Wikipedia and such. I also found a little article on allthat'sinteresting.com that's written by Chrissy Howard. It's a really cool base. These are all whenever you Google the history of Mothman, you're going to get the same story told by different people for their website. But there's also mothmanmuseum.com is a real thing, and I got it. They actually didn't have like an about section. It was kind of interesting, or at least like a history section. They really should do something like that. Although
I noticed that. Yeah, I was really surprised because that was the first place I looked for the story.
Right. Yeah.
Is there like a museum or is there something? And then when I found it, I was like, you guys are not telling anything about the actual Mothman.
Right. Well, it's because they want you to come down and pay money and buy a mask for $20. Maybe. No, it looks like a cool place, and I'm going to link this too. They actually have a moth cam. So there's the famous 12-foot statue, and that tons of people take pictures with, and they've got a live stream of the statue. Apparently it's really cool. I like that idea, especially with what's going on today and how you should not be going up to see strange statues at this time of the year, or the pandemic. So yes, 1966, November 12th, 5 men were digging a grave at a cemetery near Clennington, West Virginia, claimed to have seen a man-like figure flying low from the trees over their heads. That's kind of the first thing, and it was 3 days later when two horny couples going out, and of course you're making out, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna see Mothman.
Right.
So yeah, I actually, 1966 is where this all kind of begins, and it kind of goes out from there. The reasoning, or there's a little history there. So the couples, when they saw it, they said it was following their car while they were driving in an area outside of a town known as the TNT area, which is a site of a former World War II munitions plant, as you kind of mentioned a little bit. So there's this connection to World War II munitions plant. Something's in there. A moth gets in there. A man's there, and boom, you get Mothman. It's like Spider-Man, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or Spider-Man, just a lot less glorious and not so fun. The story,
was there supposed to be like radioactive stuff going on, or is it just?
I highly doubt it. At a munitions plant, no, you wouldn't want all that stuff blowing up because, like, Sergeant or private
I don't understand how it transforms into a Mothman. Is that the theory?
It's because the military. Okay, it is one of them. It's one of them. Yeah, people definitely. I'm sure.
Military.
Here's a quick aside. Have you seen the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
No, I haven't.
It's really good. It has Jim Carrey in it, and I can't remember the other guy. He plays Cyclops in the old X-Men movies from the early 2000s. They're both really great, though. And there's this. It's really funny because this is kind of a spoiler for the movie Sonic. If you don't want, skip like a minute. Sonic, like, he lives in this city, but nobody knows he's there. He's like in a cave, and he just kind of like watches TV through people's TV or windows and stuff. But there's this one crazy old guy who is like, there's the blue devil and blah, blah, blah. And it just like reading about Mothman just kind of made me think of that. It's really funny. And of course, Sonic befriends the village, and they're like, oh my God, the crazy guy was right in the end. So I'm just sure there's some crazy old guy like in Point Pleasant who's like knows it, but nobody's, anyway. All right. End of Sonic the Hedgehog 2020 spoilers. So yeah, that's basically the bulk of the origin of it. So there was a cool one of the sources for Wikipedia was a report published in the Point Pleasant Register from November 16th, 1966. So this was a day after the couples and a couple of days after the 5 men. So in the span of like 7 days, all this stuff's going on, and they wrote the title is "Couples See Man-Sized Bird ... Creature ... something." Like they're just like IDK. I don't know. Like this is kind of weird. But soon after that, writer Gray Barker wrote on it in 1970. He was a writer known for writing on UFOs and other I put it in my own words, it's like a modern American folklore stuff. So if you think of the conspiracy theory stuff among Men in Black, UFOs, 50s, 60s, 70s, Gray Barker, he's your go-to for that, and he was the one who sort of wrote on that. And I think what's interesting is the fact that it is Mothman. There's a humanoid figure to it. I got some Jersey Devil vibes from this, as the Mason County Sheriff was trying, of course, to address the issues, and there were sightings, more sightings that would be reported and things like that. And the consensus, and even a modern consensus, is that the people saw a crane, which, if I remember correctly from our Jersey Devil episode, that was an explanation, because cranes, especially, did I write it down? I don't think so. I think it's called the dirt or desert crane. It can be like 7 feet tall and huge and so on. So and they also have like red around their eyes, which some reports, not all, some reports would say the Sand Hill crane. There it is. The Sand Hill crane.
I was about to say that because that's the same one. That's the same crane.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hill, yeah, because they looked exactly alike. Right.
So yeah, the Sand Hill crane has red around its eyes, and there's some reports that the Mothman, when you shine a light, its eyes would be red, and there's some the modern explanations and things like that. That's what's kind of trying to go on, and so I got those Jersey Devil vibes. Now, recently, or soon after all this, on December 15th, 1967, a bridge called the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people, and it was connected to Mothman sightings, and it sort of became that's when the Mothman sort of became part of that, just a part of that. The Silver Bridge, it's, if you look at, there's a few pictures you can see. In fact, in that article on All Things That's Interesting, there's a really good picture of Point Pleasant, and there are these 2 giant bridges, because there's a huge lake on it. It's really pretty, but it looks like one of those is the Silver Bridge, and it collapsed, killing a bunch of people, and then that started giving rise to and connecting it to Mothman sightings.
So he's a harbinger of doom.
Essentially, yeah, that's started it. And what's wild, so this was on Wikipedia. The source for this is in do they speak Russian in Georgia or Georgian? I apologize for not knowing that. I think it's Russian. According to a Georgian newspaper, Svobodnyaya Gruzia, Russian UFOologists claim that Mothman sightings in Moscow foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. This is its own obviously horrible event, part of the Second Chechen War in 1999. More than 1,000 people were injured, almost 400 killed, but apparently there were Mothman sightings in Moscow before these events, and of course UFOologists would be like, so that's really, I just thought that was really interesting that across the world, especially in this time, it's so easy for things that, we're deep in the information age, but in the 60s and 70s, and even in 1999, I wouldn't expect many, Moscovites to have internet access to Point Pleasant. But those UFOologists, they would be tied into what's going on, and of course America is a hotbed for a lot of that stuff, and then they'd be reading about Mothman, and then who knows. So just an interesting little thing that happens in 1999 compared to the Silver Bridge collapse in 1967. The Mothman sightings were a year before. So after that, there surely were more sightings and more reports. It started really getting ingrained into Point Pleasant, local folklore. And in fact, now it's a huge modern thing. Like I said, there's the Mothman Museum. There is the Mothman Festival, and which reportedly brings into 10 to 12,000 people per year. So it's a huge thing.
How big is that city, Point Pleasant?
Not very big at all.
It's got to be small, right?
Yeah, it is quite small. So it's a huge thing for them, in West Virginia. So a great way for them to. I mean, this picture is so beautiful of it. I mean, just think of pretty West Virginia and throw in a Mothman museum and you're good to go. So it's a cool little thing that they have. What's really cool, something extremely recent, in June, a petition started to replace all. We still have a lot of Confederate statues in the country, and tearing them down is ideal, or removing them is ideal. But apparently, there's a petition with over 2,000 signatures as of this article from June that to replace them with Mothman statues.
Okay.
So I feel like we're going into a weird territory there. But yeah, so the sort of like the analysis is interesting. I mean, a lot of the reports are from teenagers, and we've discussed this in the Bloody Mary. There's this age where certain age groups are just susceptible to the spookies and spooky things and stuff like that. And so there's no the biggest evidence that appeared was in 2016, the famous photo, and it looks like the Mothman is just like frozen in air. I mean, I know that's what a photo is, but it just looks like an awkward flying photo. It literally looks like he was mid-flight and just someone hit pause and he just was like, And Sharon A. Hill, a science writer, her explanation, and of course many others would agree, is that it's likely like an owl carrying either a frog or a snake, and you can totally see that if you look. The wingspan looks similar to that of an owl's, or another kind of bird in that same sort of like appearance. And then,
well, how big are owls?
Hedwig was pretty big.
7 feet tall.
Well, no, but when you see,
but eagles are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, even so, I mean, the perspective of the picture, it's very shadowy. It's far away, zoomed, and so the perspective could make it look bigger. And the legs of it do look like it could be like two frog legs sticking out, or a snake that's wrapped. I definitely do see that. I don't see Mothman. I mean, I see how you could.
I'm gonna have to look at the picture. I don't think I encountered a picture.
Oh yeah, just search up 2016.
Yeah, I didn't do like an image search or whatever.
Oh sure, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, the barred owl or the albino owl is what it's attributed by. Also, there have been pranks, like apparently some construction workers tied flashlights to a balloon, misidentified planes. And the glowing eyes are the red eye effect from reflection of light, or the bright sources, or of course, as in like the crane, it's just sort of like a mixture of reflecting, seeing the red, and then getting the reflection of the eyes as well. So it's pretty interesting. And yeah, apparently the red eye thing isn't like what in the earlier sightings wasn't always a feature. It was just essentially that they would be glowing was the thing. So and a lot of the samples that they've done as Have You Seen the Mothman were done at things like the Mothman convention. And so it's like, well, if you're at a Mothman convention, you're probably
these people already believe
right
in it. Yeah, it's sort of like going to like a UFO convention.
Yeah, asking like, do you believe in UFOs? Well, I'm here.
Well, the CIA did release that footage.
Right. Yeah. So, oh yeah, and I wrote the first annual Mothman Festival was in 2002 as well. So I thought that was kind of cool, and because that is the same year that the Mothman, what is it, prophecies, Richard Gere's movie.
Yeah, the Mothman Prophecies.
Yeah, that's the year that was released. So have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't, but I know that like time stops in it, and there was an episode of the X-Files which kind of alluded to Mothman but it was like aliens, I think. But time stopped for is that like something that people have reported, or is that just something that came in later? Or did you find that at all?
Never came across that. Nope. Never came across that.
Because it's like their car would stall, and then the time they would like lose time.
Interesting.
In the movie.
Okay. With Richard Gere. I did forget to mention actually, so that John Keel wrote the 1975 book The Mothman Prophecies, and that would later become the film in 2002. So I wonder, I didn't look too much into either one. I haven't seen the movie, haven't read the book. The movie is apparently it has some interesting parts to it, but that were either you liked it or you loved it. So, but apparently was it just a genuinely good film, and the book apparently was also good. So they might be worth checking out. But no, I didn't come across that. That might be like a feature of the book that got translated into the film. So, I mean, it's like the reports are really kind of interesting. Like I said, a lot of it's teenagers, and it's wild. Like
couples going to make out somewhere.
Right. That's kind of the idea I get. I mean, and the guys, the 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery near Clenendon, that very first sighting, that was like one of the only ones that I saw where it was really like not kids or young couples or whatever, unless they were young couples digging a grave. I don't know. So, but one other, I'll sort of end my stuff on. There's 2 like related things. So there's the Owl Man, which is a Cornish entity in the UK or in England, that starts at around 1976. I didn't look into it too much, but I thought that was interesting because they're 10 years apart. I wonder what the connection is sort of there, but it sounds like it's similar.
Didn't you say the Mothman Prophecies was written in
75?
75. Yeah, so maybe
some guy imported it and was like, yeah, that could be it. But then there's also another West Virginian creature called the Flatwoods Monster. Have you heard of
it? Is
this?
Like a Yeti?
No, it's a little more sinister. It looks like. Yeah, it's definitely like more of a sinister thing. Mothman doesn't like seem to get up in your business. I mean, it seems to bring the business. I don't know, but oh, what? That's crazy. Yeah, I just pulled up the Wikipedia for the Flatwoods Monster. Oh, is it? It says that it's featured in popular culture. The monster appears in various video games, so it's like in Fallout 76, but it's apparently in the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Huh.
That's crazy. That's really crazy.
I love it when you do that, when you find something like new information while we're recording.
I know.
Because you can't do it when we're recording like in our recording place, but like you can do it now because you're like,
oh yeah, and I just Googled Flatwoods Monster Majora's Mask and I see it. Yeah, that's totally cool. Oh my god, what a cool little.
We'll have to all Google that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to do a little episode on the Flatwoods Monster. In a couple weeks or months. So it seems it actually dates a little bit farther back too. It's about 10 years prior. So and yeah, it definitely seems more sinister. The Mothman doesn't seem to like, other than like banging on teenagers' cars to stop making out in the woods, and foreshadowing catastrophe. He seems like he's not bothering anybody. So
one thing that I saw on I think it was the Wikipedia page, they were talking about the Men in Black and how they showed up. Like it was these men, they dressed all like head to toe in black suits with like black hats. And they came in and were just trying to hush up everybody that had seen the Mothman or was telling stories about the Mothman.
That's interesting. I don't think I can. That. Maybe they just wanted people to shut up. Like, just guys,
they're like,
down.
Hey guys, you're making us look really dumb.
We're really trying to calm down this.
We're just trying
Jersey
to go to
Devil crap.
And...
Yeah. So yeah, that's Mothman. It's pretty straightforward, but it lives strong today, and it's just become a cool capitalist icon for this small West Virginian city. So like I said, check out that live stream if you like, just to get a picture, a active view of the Mothman. I wonder if the live stream is up at like 3 a.m. That's the time to look at it. But then your Wi-Fi goes down. No.
And you lose time.
Yeah. That's what happens at 3 a.m. when you're on the internet anyway. But
yeah, no kidding.
Well, Cammie, thank you for that. I liked your rendition. That was really well done, and this was I'm glad you suggested us doing this finally. I think it was a good. Cryptids are always fun.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed it, let us know. We're on Facebook, Mythstorie with an IE. You can let us know if you have any suggestions for just the show in general, or if you have any topics you'd like us to cover. We're really down for anything here. We really appreciate all the feedback. We've got some really great episodes recently, especially the Suburban Legends one that we did that was sourced by fans and was super fun. We can't stop talking about it. So guys, we will see you next time. Cammie, thanks again.